Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarvalokanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam निधाये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरेन्द्रगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहं। परित्यज्य मौनं वटाधस्थितिं च व्रजन् भारतस्य प्रदेशात् प्रदेशम् मधुस्यन्ति वाचा जनान् धर्ममार्गे नयन् श्रीजयेन्द्रो गुरुर्भाति चित्ते नमामः शङ्करान् वाक्य विजयेन्द्र सरस्वतीं श्रीगुरुं शिष्टमार्गानु नेतारं सन्मतिप्रदम् सद्गुरु चरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम. So welcome to the introduction to Dheivathin Kural class. We have been seeing about Pancha Mahayajnas. Pancha Mahayajnas are our contribution back to the society who has contributed to our well-being. So Shastras categorize 5 groups of entities which contribute to our happiness and our well-being in the society. And Shastra say, just like how they have contributed to your well-being, you also have to give it back to them. So this is kind of a Vedic Thanksgiving. You know, we celebrate Thanksgiving Day only on one day in a year, that too by killing birds and eating meat. That's what the society where we live in celebrate Thanksgiving Day. But Shastric Thanksgiving is celebrated daily by giving back, by contributing back to the society from which we have availed all the help. And the 5 yajnas are: Pitru yajnas for our parents, Deva yajna is for Bhagavan, Manushya yajna for our fellow human being, Bhuta Yajna for all the other animals and objects in the universe, and Brahma Yajna for the Rishis and Vedas. And Krishna says, Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayirindriya ramaha mogham partha sajivati. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, hey Arjuna, this is a cycle, Arjuna. Just like how we have carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and oxygen cycle, this is a cosmic cycle of contribution. Just how you derive from that cycle, you also have to give back your contribution to that cycle. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha. Please do not stop this cycle, hey Arjuna, says in Bhagavad Gita. Says Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. That is what we have been seeing. And Pitru Yajna is looking after the parents when they are alive and performing monthly and annual Shraddha ceremonies, monthly Tarpanam, annual Shraddha ceremonies. Some people will even perform Shannavati Tarpanam, that is 96 Tarpanams per year. If we calculate, it will come like as though, once in 2 days or once in 3 days, you will be keeping on performing tarpanam. There are still people who does that Shannavati Tarpanam. All those things will fall under Pitru Yajna. And Deva Yajna is performing Panchayatana Puja. Ambika, Adityam, Ambikam, Mahavishnu, Ganapati, and Parameshwara. All these 5 deities, Mahaperiyava says, in olden days, Subramanya or Skanda has been worshipped through Agni Upasana, But because now we don't have Agni Upasana, we don't perform Agnihotram or even Upasanam these days. Mahaperiyava says you can also include a small veil, veil in the Panchayatana Puja, so that we can worship, we can propitiate all the Bhagavan who is Karma Pala Dhata, who gives karma, who gives punya papam to all of our actions. That is Deva Yajna. Next yajna is Manushya Yajna, helping the fellow human beings. And Shastra says there are two types of karma, and Ishtha karma and Purta karma. Both will fall under Manushya Yajna. What is Ishta karma? Agnihotram, Tapas, Satyam, Veda Rakshanam, Athithi Satkaram, Vaishwadevam. Basically, helping all the people by giving them food, doing Annadanam, doing Athityam. All those things will come under Ishti Dharma, and Purta Dharma is very important dharma. It's social service, digging of wells, ponds, etc., taking care of temples, mass feeding people, doing Annadanam in a large scale. Doing Annadanam in a short scale is Athityam or Atiti Satkaram, that falls under Ishta Karma. Doing Annadanam in a large scale, like feeding hundreds and thousands of people daily, all those things will come under Purta Dharma, that is Manushya Yajna. And finally, Bhuta Yajna is doing Vaishwadeva Karma. What is Vaishwadeva Karma and why is this karma performed? Shastra says, Panchasuna Grihastasya. In everybody's home, there are 5 butcheries. Like, there are, we operate, in those days, they were knife, grinder, mixie, stove, water pot, broom, etc. But in these days, we can also include our car. We travel in the road, and then we kill, inadvertently some animals and some plants or some insects. They all will be killed, all those things. And because of all those things, as a prayaschittam for all those things, we have to do Vaishwadevam. It is a Vedic karma. And whatever food we give for kaka ki sadam podrathu, some people will give water. Now in India, summer time is coming, and people, we have been receiving WhatsApp messages and Facebook messages that, birds, they don't have water, so daily keep a bowl of water for the birds. So that is one of the Bhuta Yajna. Doing kolam, putting kolam with arsimavu daily, that is one of the forms of Bhuta Yajna. Basically, taking care of all the animals and taking care of the environment, because they help a lot. Even science says if the honey bee is not there, maybe in 2 or 3 years, the entire food chain supply will get destroyed, says science, because honeybees help in large scale pollination of plants. And if honeybees are not there, we won't get food. So even though there is no direct connection between honeybee and our food, but everything falls under, they have food chain, food pyramid, etc. It is a chain. So we also have to take care of those animals, take care of plants, take care of environments. All those things will come under Bhuta Yajna. And Mahaperiyava says in volume 3, Manusha Yajna and Bhuta Yajna kind of comes under social service, right? And Mahaperiyava says, what should be our attitude while doing social service? What should be our attitude while helping others? If we ask, normally, what do we say? If a person is asking us $100, and if we give him $100, we normally think ourselves to be on a higher pedestal. We think the lower pedestal, the receiver to be on the lower pedestal, and we normally think what? Hey, I am helping him, and he has to be thankful for me. That's what we normally think. But Mahapariyava says it should be the other way around. We have to be we have to be thankful for the person who receives our help. We have to be thankful for the person who has asked us $100. Why? Mahaperiyava says, by helping him, I am going to get something which is more permanent. The $100 that I give the other person, he might eat food, he might, even lose that money in gamble. That money might eventually be not helpful for him altogether. But by giving him $100, I am getting chitta shuddhi. By giving money for annadhanam, I am getting chitta shuddhi, which is going to be present with me for a much, much, much longer time. Chitta Shuddhi leads to moksha. If you get Chitta Shuddhi, you will get Jnanam, and Jnanam gives you moksha. So, the money that we give, it doesn't even have to be money. So, that is what is very, very important here. When we say Bhuta Yajna, when we say Manushya Yajna, please do not think it is about giving money. It is not. Yes, money is also there, but we can also share our time for other people. We can also share our good thoughts for other people. All those things will come under Bhuta Yajna and Manushya Yajna, and all those small, small, small things. Praying for somebody. On Facebook, we have many groups that say, hey, please pray for me, please pray for me. We read and we pray for them. We are not going to lose any money. All we have to do is spend 30 seconds of our time. And whether the prayer works or not is a different thing. But just by praying for others, we get chitta shuddhi, we get purity of our mind, and that comes a very, very long way through, says Mahaperiyava. In fact, he says the word paropakaram is very, very misleading. Acharya says in Dheivathin Kural, paropakaram, para means others, upakaram, help, paropakaram, helping others. The word paropakaram means I help others, right? But Mahaperiyava says maybe we should change that to swa upakaram, because literally, even though we help others, but we help ourselves more by helping others. So maybe we can change that word from paropakaram to swa upakaram. Swa means own. Swa upakaram, helping our own, helping ourselves. So maybe paropakaram can be called as swa upakaram, says Mahaperiyava in Deivathin Kural. So that should be our attitude while doing social service. Mahapariva says, if we have the other attitude, if we have a big ego, if we think, hey, I help, I do this thing. If I were not there, then that thing will not exist. If I were not there, then that person will fall. If we think that, that is going to do us more harm than doing good. Cautions Mahaperiyava in Deivathin Kural. So we have to have the right attitude while doing social service, because service gives us chitta shuddhi, and if we have more chitta shuddhi, we will be more inclined to serve others as well. And in continuation of that, Mahaperiyava says many stories in the third part of Deivathin Kural, and one of the story is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Devas, Manushyas, and Asuras, they all have gone to Brahmaji. Brahma, the Chaturmukha Brahma, who has created all the Ganas, Deva Ganas, Manushya Ganas, and Asura Ganas, and they have all asked Brahma, hey Father, please give us a very short and sweet mantra. All the Vedas are so big. We don't have time, neither we have any inclination to study all those things. Please give us some short and sweet mantra. If we do that mantra, if we follow the teaching, we will get Shreyas, said Devas, Manusyas, and Asuras. And Brahmaji said, the, the, the letter the, third the, said Brahma to the Devas, Manusyas, and Asuras. And Deva said, hey Brahmaji, hey Father, yes, I understand. We understand. You want us to follow Damyata, self control, because Devas in Devaloka, there is no it is the epitome of sensual pleasures in Devaloka. If you want food, finest quality of food is available. If you want entertainment, finest quality of entertainment is available in Devaloka. And Deva said, yes, because we have been consuming all those entertainments, all those comforts. You want us to practice self restraint, you want us to practice self control, said Devas to Brahma. And Brahmaji said, Tathastu. Yes, that is my teaching to you. Damyata. Next came Asuras, and the Asuras understood the teaching as Dayadhvam, as compassion. Asuras kill a lot of people, Asuras cause harm to a lot of people, and Asura said, Hey Brahmaji, because we have been very destructive, you want us to follow Dayadhvam, you want us to follow compassion, said Asuras to Brahmaji, and Brahma said, Tatastu, yes, this is my teaching for you, Dayadhvam. Next came Manushya. Manushya is people like us. Manushya said, Hey Brahma, hey Father, because we have been Kanja Karumi, you want us to follow charity, Datta. And by following charity, by giving food for people, by giving things for people, we get Shreyas, said Manushyas. Is that your teaching? Asked Manushyas to Brahmaji. And Brahmaji said, Yes. एतद्वै मुखतो ओन्नगुं राद्धं मुखतो स्मा अन्नगुं राध्यते एतद्वै मध्यतो ओन्नगुं राद्धं मध्यतो स्मा अन्नगुं राध्यते एतद्वा अन्ततो ओन्नगुं राद्धं अन्ततो स्मा अन्नगुं राध्यते. In Taittiriya Upanishad says, Etadvai mukhato onnagum raddham. The person who gives food to others early in his life will also receive food early in his next life. The person who gives food in the in the mid time of his life, he will receive help in the mid of life. The person who helps others only at the fag end of his life will also receive help at the fag end of his life. In Tamil we say இதுக்கெல்லாம் கொடுத்து வச்சிருக்கணும். Right? What is that kuduthu vechirukkirathu? What is the origin for that phrase kuduthu vechirukkirathu? It is this Upanishad Vakyam from Taittiriya Upanishad. நம்ம முன்னாடியே கொடுத்து வச்சிருந்தோம்னா நமக்கு முன்னாடி கிடைக்கும். நம்ம லேட்டா தான் கொடுத்தோம்னா நமக்கு லேட்டா தான் கிடைக்கும். That's what Brahma says. Datta, charity, the. And Mahapariva says, that is why he said, Damyata datta dayadhum janata shreyo bhuyat sakala jananam. In Maitrim Bhajata, Mahaperiyava reminds us of this very important teaching by Brahmaji to the three ganas in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Damyata datta dayadhvam. So with this, till this, we have seen in the last week. Now we are going to finish the topic of Paropakaram and we are going to enter into the new topic. Mahaperiva says a lot of things about Paropakaram in volume 3 of Dheivathin Kural. If you know Tamil, please go and read the volume. Please go and read the book. I'm just cherry picking some topics and presenting those topics. As the final topic in Deivathin Kural about Paropakaram, Mahaperiyava says, Ashwamedha for all. Ashwamedha is a huge yajnam performed by Kshatriyas. There are yajnams for Kshatriyas, there are yajnams for Brahmanas, etc. Ashwamedha is a yajnam which is performed by Kshatriyas. We see in Ramayana, Rama performs Ashwamedha yajna. In Mahabharata, Ashwamedha yajna is being performed. Gangavataranam, all those came because of the Ashwamedha yajna performed. And in Ramayana, Lava and Kucha, Rama meets Lava and Kusha because of the Ashwamedha yajna. We know all the story. So Ashwamedha yajna is a huge yajna. If you have to perform Ashwamedha yajna, you have to be the king of a wide and vast nation, unparalleled and unquestionable king of a huge nation, like big Samrat alone can perform Ashwamedha yajna. And Mahaperiyava says there is an opportunity for all of us to perform this Ashwamedha Yajna. What is the way by which everybody can perform Ashwamedha Yajna? That is what Mahaperiyava is going to say. Before that, as an introduction, the human body is very, very sacred. Deho devalaya prokto jivo deva sanatanaha tyajet ajnana nirmalyam soham bhavena pujayet. This is the shloka many people will chant before doing any puja. What does the shloka says? Deho devalaya proktaha jivo deva sanatanaha. The whole body is like a temple. Devalayaha means temple. Jivo deva sanatanaha. Why? Because Bhagavan resides in our body. Normally, if we go to Vedanta, body should be shunned. They all will say in Vedanta, Kayame the Poyyada, Katradita Payyada. Even Tamil Siddhas, they talk, low of body, but that is there. But we also have to understand that our body, we don't have to give over importance to the body, but we also have to give the body its due credit. Shariram adhyam khalu dharma shasanam, says Shastra. Only with this body we can perform dharma. This body is a tool to perform dharma, says Shastra, and this body is of very, very pure nature. This body has got lots of devatas residing in our body. In Tattvabodha, Adi Shankaracharya says which devata resides in which part of the body. Shrotrasya dig devata tvacho vayuhu chakshusha suryaha rasanaya varunaha घ्राणस्य अश्विनौ वाचो देवतावन्निः हस्तयोरिन्द्रः पादयोर्विष्णुः पायोर्मृत्युः upasthasya prajapatihi. Shrotrasya digdevata. Shrotra means ears. The devata for our ears, the adhisthana devata for our ears is digdevata. Digdevata means, we have lot directions, right? 4 directions. And there is a devata for the directions, and the devata for direction is the adhidevata, is the adhisthana devata for our ears. Tvacho Vayuhu. Tvak means skin. The Adhisthana Devata for our skin is Vayu. Vayu Bhagavan resides in our skin. Chakshusha Suryaha. The Adhisthana Devata for our eyes is Surya. That is why people having eye problem, they say do Surya Namaskaram. Chant Aditya Hridayam for removing eye problems. Pashyema Sharadashatam, Jivema Sharadashatam, Nandama Sharadashatam. We chant during Madhyanikam, I see Surya with my eyes, because Surya is the Adhidevata or Adhishtana Devata for our eyes. Rasanaya Varunaha, Granasya Ashwino. Our tongue, Adhidevata of our tongue is Varuna. Adhidevata for our nose, the inhaling faculty, the smelling faculties, Adhidevata is Ashwini Devatas, Rasagranasya Ashwino. Vacho Devata Vannihi. Vak means speech. The Devata for our speech is Agni. Agni, fire. Devata for our speech is Agni. That is why we say, avan pechale enna suttutan. அவன் பேச்சு என்னை காயப்படுத்தினது. Normally we say in Tamil, right? His speech has hurt me like a fire. His speech has burnt me, says in Tamil. Says Tamil proverb. தீயினால் சுட்டப்புண் உள்ளாரும் ஆறாதே நாவினால் சுட்டவடு, says திருவள்ளுவர். Sutta means burnt. How can you burn with our tongue? It is because the Adhidevata, the Vanni, the fire Devata resides in the faculty of our speech. Hastayor Indraha, in our hands, Indra exists. Padayor Vishnuhu, in our padam, in our feet, Mahavishnu exists. Payor Mrityuhu, Upasthasya Prajapatihi, in the faculty of, in the excretory organs, Mrityu Devata exists. In the procreative organs, Prajapati exists, says Adi Shankaracharya in Tattvabodha. Tattvabodha is a Vedanta Grantha written by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. And that is why before chanting Rudram, we normally tell Mahanyasam and Laghunyasam. Shivaratri is going to come. If we observe in temples or even in houses, people will chant Mahanyasam and Lagunyasam. And what do they chant in Lagunyasam? Agnirme Vachishhritaha Vaghridaye Hridayam Mayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Vayurme Prane Shritaha Prano Hridaye Hridayam Mayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Suryo me Chakshushi Shritaha Chakshur Hridaye Hridayam Mayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Chandrama me Manasi Shritaha Mano Hridaye Hridayam Mayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Disho me Shrotre Shritaha Shrotragum Hridaye Hridayam Mayi Aham Amrite Amritam Brahmani Agnirme Vachishritaha Vayurme Praneshhritaha Suryo me Chakshushishritaha Chandrama me Manasishritaha Disho me Shrotre Shritaha. Agnihi is the Adidevata of what? Pachi. Agni is the Adidevata of Vak. The prayer is, let Agni be present in my Vak. That is the Mahanyasam. That is the Nyasam we do in the Lagunyasam. Vayurme Praneshhritaha. The Adhidevata for our prana is Vayu. Vayur me prane Vayu Shritaha. Let Vayu Devata be in my prana. Suryo me Chakshushi Shritaha. Let Surya be present in my eyes. Chandrama me Manasi Shritaha. Let Chandran, the moon, be present in my mind. Disho me Shrotre Shritaha. We saw, for Shrotra, for ears, the Dik Devata, the direction Devata is the Adhidevata. So Dishomi Shrotre Shitaha. That is what we chant during Lagunyasam. Before chanting Rudram, we basically want all the appropriate Devatas to be present in the appropriate places. Why? Because our body is the abode of Bhagavan. And what happens when we lose our, when a person dies, we say pranam poiduthu. The pranam has gone, yes, but the body still remains or not? The body is still there. If we go to a temple, and if even our puja room, let us say all the Swami, we wanted to clean the puja room, we will remove all the pictures from puja room. But do we keep our shoes in the puja room? Now that all the Swamis, now that all the photos, all the Swami pictures have been removed, we don't keep our shoes in the puja room. We still won't enter into the puja room with our shoes on. Even though the puja room, the Swami is not there because we wanted to paint it. That is the reverence we give for the place which used to contain Swamis, which used to contain Ishvara, right? In the same way, even after a person has died, because this body has the adhisthana, because the body has served as the adhisthana of pranan, because the body has served as the residing place, the dwelling place of all these Ishwaras, all these Devi Devatas, this body has to be treated with respect, says Mahaperiyava. And Mahaperiyava says, when a person dies, only the Atman, only the Jivatman has gone out, but all the Devatas, Agnirme Vachishritaha, all the Devatas are still present in the body, and only when the body is given the final rites. If we see the mantra for the final rites, it is like a homam. Normally we think, okay, when we want to dispose it of the body, it is not just to dispose it of the body. It is in fact a homam that we perform, onto which the human body is given as an ahuti. Normally when we do Ganapati homam, when we do Ganapati homam, we make modaka, we make korakattai and give that as an ahuti, right? In the same way, during Antyeshti. Antyeshti, Antya plus Ishti. Anta means final. Ishti means karma. We have seen Putra Kameshti Yajnam, we say. Nakshatreshti, Satreshti. Vajapaya Ishti. We say all those Ishti, Ishti, Ishti means big yajnam, right? In the same way, during the final rites, what happens? We are giving the body, the dead body, as an ahuti towards the Devi, towards the Devatas. And that is why final rites of a human body, that is Antyeshti, is very, 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 very important. And Antyeshti is one of the 40 samskaras that have been prescribed for humans. Samskaras, samyak, well, karam, karanam, to do. Samskaras, well done. These are the rites that has to be performed in a nice manner that purifies the body, that purifies oneself. And there are 40 samskaras in nature, starting from Garbhadaram, Pumsavanam, Chaulam, Jatakarma, etc. Upanayanam is a samskara, marriage is a samskara. Mahapariva is going to speak a lot about marriage, I think, in volume 2. He says why Grihastha is important, how should marriage be performed. Right now we are performing marriage as an event, as an, as a celebratory event, but marriage is a samskara, it has to be performed properly, says Mahapariva in volume 2, I think, of Dheivathin Kural. So all these are samskaras, and if we think about it, many of the samskaras are, all of the samskaras are purificatory in nature, and the karta will perform many of the samskara for himself. If I am undergoing Upanayanam, I will put Punal. If I am undergoing marriage, Vivaha Samskara, then I will get married. So I will do Samskara for my own self. But Antyeshti, after I have done, somebody else should perform that Samskara for me. So Antyeshti is dependent upon others. And while doing Antyeshti for others, if I do Antyeshti for others, I will get a lot of benefits. I will get a chitta shuddhi, because Antyeshti is offering the body for Bhagavan. And Acharya says, Mahaperiyava says, this is where Ashwamedha for all comes in pictures. Daridraya kritam dhanam, shunyalingasya pujanam, anatha preta samskaram, Ashwamedha samam labhet, or Ashwamedha phalam labhet, or Ashwamedha samam viduhu. These three things will give one phalan of doing an Ashwamedha yajna, says Shastra. What are those three things? Daridraya kritam danam. A danam, a charity given to a daridra, given to a poor person. Daridraya kritam danam. Shunyalingasya pujanam. We go to a temple, there are a lot of temples which are in dilapidated conditions, right? When we do puja to that Parameshwara, when we do puja to that lingam, when we do puja to that Mahavishnu, in the temple, temple is in a dilapidated condition, we clean the temple, we build, some minimal construction, and when we do puja for that, dilapidated temple, that is the second one. And third one is Anatha Preta Samskaram. When we do samskara, when we do the Antyeshti for Anatha Pretaha, there will be a lot of people who don't have anyone. They are orphans, destitutes, right? When they die, Mahapariva uses very, very strong words here. The government, they will just dispose the body of, in one way or the another. But the Hindu, but for the Hindu community, for the Sanatana Dharma followers, Anatha Preta Samskaram is a very, very important thing, because it is an offering to Bhagavan. And the person who helps to do Anatha Preta Samskara, these three people, the person who gives charity to a Daridra, the person who does puja to Bhagavan in a dilapidated temple, and the person who does Anatha Preta Samskara, these three persons will get the phalam, will get the benefits of doing Ashwamedha Yajna. We all can do Ashwamedha Yajna if we follow these three things. Acharya says in every village there should be, a club, there should be A group of people should come together. They have to find these anatha pretas, and they all have to do the anatha preta samskaram, says Mahaperyava in Dheivathin Kural. With this, we will finish the topic of Paropakaram. And Acharya also says later, in the same volume 3, all these Paropakarams we have to do only after taking care of the family. Taking care of our own family is the first Paropakaram. Only after taking care of the family, a person can venture out in doing all these social service. Periyava says it very, very strongly and very, very clearly. Just because in Deivathin Kural it says Anatha Preta Samskaram we have to do Annadanam, we have to do that, we have to do this. If a person spends a lot of time and resources on that without taking care of the family, that is very, very important. After the family is taken care of, the person should do all those things. But without taking care of the family, a person should not venture out in doing all these things, says Mahapereva very clearly and very strongly. So we have to take these upadesams, we have to take these teachings in the right spirit, and we take care of our family first and then venture into doing all these social services. With this, we will finish the topic of Paropakaram, which encompasses Manushya Yajna and Bhuta Yajna. So the final yajna in the Panchamaha yajnas is Brahma yajna. What is Brahma yajna? Here the word Brahma means Vedas. The word Brahma will take different meaning depending upon the context. There is a Chaturmukha Brahma, husband of Saraswati. That is there, Brahmaji. And there is also Brahman in Vedanta, the ultimate Paramatman. But here Brahma Yajna means Vedas. Brahma means Vedas. Our contribution back to the Vedas. Our ancient rishis have found out all the mantras, which are present in the space. Mantras are always present in the space, but we don't have the capacity to understand. We don't have the capacity to receive the mantras. But those rishis, because of their yogic powers, they have received the mantras. They had the capacity to receive mantras. Just like how Wi-Fi signal is present all over the house, but I cannot download any movies directly onto my brain. I need a cell phone. I need a laptop. Only a cell phone or a laptop acts as a proper receiver to receive the Wi-Fi signal. I can only see the movie through my cell phone or laptop, right? In the same way, the rishis, they have some yogic powers. Because of the yogic powers, rishis have found out Veda mantras, and we still are chanting Vedas because of that avichinna parampara. When we say Namaste Rudra Manyava Uto Taishave Namaha, Namaste Yastu Dhanvane Bahubhya Mudate Namaha, we chant this because 1,000 years back, 5,000 years back, 10,000 years back, Rudram was chanted exactly in the same way. If there was a corruption, in people working in technology, they know something as entropy in data. When data is being copied, when data is being compressed and encrypted and all, when data is being undergone all those process, there is an entropy. Data will change itself. People in technology will know this. But our Vedas did not have any type of entropy because it has been copied. It has been propagated faithfully. Jatam, Padam, Kramam. There were a lot of checks and balances happened, in order to propagate the Vedas without any change. And we have now Vedas up to us, and it is our duty to propagate Vedas to our future generations. And Brahma Yajna is doing exactly the same thing. Brahma Yajna is studying and propagating Vedas by those who have undergone the process of Upanayanam. That is very, very important. People who have undergone the process of Upanayanam can chant, can receive the Vedas, they can also teach the Vedas. Okay, what about other things? What about other people? They also have to do Brahma Yajna, but in a different format. That is by helping those who are propagating Vedas, by making facilities for propagation of Vedas and living our life as enjoined by the Vedas, as enjoined, as laid out by the rishis and Vedas. It is the proper Brahma Yajna that everybody has to perform. If we chant Lalita Sahasranama, it is a form of Brahma Yajna because it is given by rishis. If we chant Vishnu Sahasranama, this is also a Brahma Yajna because that has been given by rishis. If we read, if we study Bhagavad Gita, that is also a form of Brahma Yajna because we are propagating that knowledge, we are studying that knowledge, and we are helping in the propagation of that knowledge. So propagation of knowledge and following the lifestyle, following an shastric lifestyle as enjoined by the Vedas and Shastras, doing all those things will constitute Brahma Yajna. With this we will finish the topic of the Pancha Mahayajnas: Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Manushya Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, and Brahma Yajna. With this, the Panchamaha Yajna's topic is over. Let us move on to another topic, another very interesting topic called as Acharam. All these things, even this topic is from the volume 3 of Dheivathin Kural. Acharam. What is Acharam? Mahapariva says it very, very, very simply. What is Acharam? Whatever the things that have been followed by our elders constitute Acharam. I eat food. I follow a certain lifestyle. If I follow what my father has done, if my father followed what his father has done, if his father has followed what his father has done, that is called as Achara. Because our ancestors had a very strict lifestyle, our ancestors had a very disciplined lifestyle. They led their life as enjoined by the Vedas and Shastras. What is our duty? Just to follow their footsteps. Why? Because it has worked for them. Because of their acharam, we are in a nice position. We are in a good position in our life. When we follow that, it is going to be good for our kids as well. And it is also going to give shreyas for our own selves as well. So that Mahaperiyava says a very working definition of acharam. There is a shlokam that says, Shikam Sutrancha Pundrancha Samayacharam Evacha Purvaihi Acharitah Kuryat Anyatha Patito Bhavet Purvaihi Acharitah Kuryat. Please do Kuryat. Please do Purvaihi Acharitaha. Do whatever the things that has been done by your ancestors. Follow your forefathers. Anyatha patito bhavet. If you don't follow, then it is your loss. You are going to be a loser, says Shastra. Especially with these three. What are these three? Shikham, Sutrancha, Pundrancha. What is Shikha? We say Kudumi, right? That is called as Shikha. We have to follow our forefathers in many respects, and these three have been emphasized in our shastras. Shikha means having a kudumi. That is very, very important, not only for a brahmana but for all the varnas. If we see olden pictures, olden painting, everybody will have a shikha, and that shika also will differ from family to family. So if we go up north, people will have shika like this, very, very small, tough hair. If we come down south, people will have shika like this, a big chunk of hair. And if we see, Nambudris and Chidambaram Dikshidars, they have Shikha not on the back but on the side. And there is also something called as Purva Shikha. Instead of having Shikha on the back of your head, some people will have Purva Shikha. They will have Shikha on the front part of their head. You have to follow your family tradition in order to have the right type of Shikha. If my father followed a Purva Shikha, I cannot say, hey, that looks funny, I'm going to change my Shikha style. No, it is not a style, it is not an option. We have to follow the family tradition in having Shikha. So that is Shikha. Let us come to Sutram later. Let us see Pundram first. What is Pundram? Pundram is having something on the forehead. Vibhuti is called as Tripundram or Tiryak Pundram. Tiryak means growing horizontally, sidewise is called as Tiryak. Tiryak Pundram, when we have Vibhuti, we have three lines that goes from side. It is like an equal to sign, right? It goes from one side to another side. So that is called as Tripundram. There is also something called as Urdhva Pundram. Urdhva means going up. Urdhva Pundram going up. So these Pundram will go from bottom to top, right? So Tripundram, if you are practiced Tripundram, you have to do Tripundram. If you are if your family follows the tradition of Urdhva Pundra, then you have to do Urdhva Pundra. I cannot say, if I'm born in a family which does Tripundram, I cannot say, hey, no, I don't like Shiva, I want to worship Vishnu, I want to do Tripundram. No, Shastra does not accept that. If your family belongs to the tradition of having Tripundram, you have to do Tripundram. If your family belongs to the tradition of Urdhva Pundram, then you have to have Urdhva Pundram. You cannot say, hey, no, Urdhva Pundram, people make fun of me, I'm going to have Tripundram. No, 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 no. So Shikham, Pundram, all those things, you have to follow what your ancestors have followed. Next comes Sutram. Normally, sutram means a thread. So here, does it mean the punal, which is a thread? Acharya says no, because the rules and regulations for punal is same from, Asetu Himachalam, is same for the entire Bharata Varsham. But here, sutram means the Dharma Shastram. When we say Yajurvedam, when we say Abhivadaye, Vatula Gotraha, Apastamba Sutraha, Yajushaka Adhyayi. These are like manuals. When we buy a TV, there is a manual that comes along with the TV, right? When you do an experiment in a lab, people give you a lab manual, how to do this, how to do the connections, how to turn on the TV. We have product manual when we buy a laptop or when we buy a cell phone, right? In the same way, rishis have written out a manual called as sutrams. They are called as Dharma Sutrams or Grihya Sutrams. You know, so these manuals have to be followed very religiously. If I'm doing any karma, what is my Sandhya Vandanam? I have a certain way of doing Sandhya Vandanam. I follow Apastamba Sutram. But the same Yajurvedam, for a person who follows Bodhayana Sutram, his procedure for doing Sandhya Vandanam will be a little bit different. When I do Brahma Yajnam, Apastamba Sutra is very, very short. When I do Brahma Yajnam, I will say, I will only have four tarpanams for Deva Rishi. Sarvagas Devagam Tarpayami, Sarvadeva Ganas Tarpayami, Sarvadeva Rishis Tarpayami, Sarvadeva Rishi Patnis Tarpayami. Sarvan Devan Tarpayami, Sarvadeva Patnis Tarpayami, Sarva Deva Ganas Tarpayami, Sarvadeva Ganapatnis Tarpayami. These things are very, very simple for Apastamba Sutra. But for Bodhayana Sutra, doing Brahma Yajnam is a very, very big process. They will have a lot more mantras. So I follow my own Sutra. You follow your own Sutra. A person in Rigveda will follow Ashvalayana Sutra. A person in Samaveda will follow Drahyayana Sutra. There are many, many Sutrams available. These are just an example. I don't have to follow what the other person is following, and he does not have to follow what I am following. I follow my own sutra. He follows his own. The other person follows their own sutram. So we don't have to, there is no high or low. Bhagavan has given us a birth in this family because of the reason. We have karmas, and for the phalan of that karma, Bhagavan has given us birth in that family. So we have to follow the customs and traditions of that family, says Mahaperiyava in Dheivathin Kural. So Shikam, Sutrancha Pundrancha, Samayacharam Evacha, Purvaihi Acharita Kuryat, Anyatha Patito Bhavet. So all these will come under Acharam. And Mahaperiyava says, when we normally think only when somebody follows Madi Virupu, Madi Virupu, it's a whole thing in itself. Madi is cleanliness. I take bath and I only wear clean clothes. That is called as Madi. I only have to wear the clothes that has been prepared according to the rules and regulations of Madi. That comes under Saucham. Madi Virupu, have Shika, wears Panchakacham always, wears always Vibhuti, a person who don't eat outside food. We normally think that person as an Achara Shila. That person follows Acharam. We normally think that person is called as, we normally call that person as Achara Shila. But Mahaperiyava says, Acharam is not only that. These are external disciplines, but Acharam is also internal disciplines. I follow Madi Virupu because my parents follow that. They followed Madi Virupu because their parents follow that. And they followed Madi Virupu because their parents followed. It all came from those rishis. I wear Shika because of my father. My father wears it because of his father. I wear Panchakacham because I have seen my dad doing it. And he is wearing because his father has been doing it, right? So all these comes paramparaya, but all those things are external discipline. External disciplines are also acharam, but that is not the only acharam. Acharam is a combination of external and internal disciplines. When Mahaperiyava wanted to give a nice word for Acharam in English, he cannot find, because the word, when do we have a word? Only when the word has got a purpose, a word is normally evolved, right? Because the Western society lacks the concept of Acharam, there is no word for Acharam in the Western society. That is why there is no word for Acharam in English. Mahaperiyava says Acharam is a combination of character and conduct. Character is an internal thing. Conduct, how you conduct yourself externally. So Acharam is a combination of your character, the internal discipline, and conduct, the external discipline. Okay, is there any other word for Acharam? In Tamil, Mahaperiyava says the word Ozhukkam can be taken as a rough translation for the word Acharam. In Tirukkural, Thiruvalluvar has written 10 Tirukkurals for the word Ozhukkam. 10 Tirukkurals are there for Ozhukkamudaimai. The first Tirukkural is a beautiful one. Mahaperiyava says that in Deivathin Kural. ஒழுக்கம் விழுப்பந்தரலாம் ஒழுக்கம் உயிரினும் ஓம்பப்படும். The acharam is more important than one's own life, says Thiruvalluvar, and Mahaperiyava accepts that. Mahaperiyava says because Thiruvalluvar is a great Vaidhika, he gives a lot of importance to Acharam, that is Ozhukkam, says Mahaperiyava. And this Ozhukkam takes us from outside to inside. So previously, we will have to follow the outside Ozhukkam. That is not going to the places that are prohibited, doing only the things that are allowed for us. Do not eat garlic and onion. That is an achara, and that is an external Ozhukkam. Do not tell lies. That is an achara. That is an external Ozhukkam. Only when we follow that, we can get a purity of mind inside. So Acharam has to take you from external to internal discipline. We cannot just stop with external disciplines. We also have to imbibe internal disciplines, says Mahaperiyava. There is a shloka. It's a very strong shloka. Acharahinam napunanti vedaha. Even a person knows Yajurvedam from top to bottom. If he starts with Ishedor Jetva Vayavastaha, he will only take a breath after chanting the entire Vedas. Okay, let the person be like that. But if he does not have Achara, then it is of no use, says Mahaperiyava. Achara hinam napunanti veda. Punanti means purifies. A person can be a Ganapati, a person can be a Jathavallabha, but if that person does not follow the rules of Achara, Vedas are not going to be of any use for that person, says this shlokam, and Mahaperiyava quotes the shlokam. So it is very, very important to follow Acharam. Mahaperiyava also says there is a Tirukural in there is a Tirukural that says if a person forgets Vedas, he can easily learn the Vedas back. But if the person forgets his Achara, nothing can be done for him. There is a Tirukkural, Marappinum. It starts with Marappinum. A person, if he forgets the Vedas, Marappinum, Marakkaradu means forget. If a person forgets the Vedas, he can easily learn the Vedas. There is absolutely no problem. But if the person has fallen from his acharam, then there is no use. The person is called as a patita. Patita, we have already seen, right? Patita, he is a fallen person, says Acharya. And this Acharam encompasses a lot of things. We have already seen something called as Samanya Dharma, Ahimsam, Ahimsa, Satyam, Astayam, Saucham, Indriya Nigraham. We have already seen these are Samanya Dharma. Mahaperiyava says, if you follow the proper Acharam, all these dharmas you will be following automatically. Acharam says, do not eat non-vegetarian food. That comes for ahimsa. What is ahimsa? Not causing harm to other people. So if I don't eat non-veg food, if I don't eat meat, that comes under ahimsa. Satyam vada. It is also a sadacharam. Satyam vada. Do not tell lies. That is an acharam. If we follow that acharam of not telling lies, you will automatically be speaking right things, right? So that is satyam vada. And astayam. What is astayam? Taking other people's money, taking other people resources is astayam, right? So acharam is that do not take other person's house. So do not covet other person's belongings. So that is an acharam, and if we follow that, astayam comes automatically. Saucham, the entire madi, viluppu, echal, pattal, all these things are acharam. If we follow that, then saucham comes automatically. Indriya nigraham, Shastra, if we follow the Acharam, we won't have any time to watch even TV. Our Dharma Shastra has given out a huge timetable. Our forefathers have lived according to that. If you wake up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you won't even have time to do any gossip. You won't even have time to to cook elaborate food. You will just cook food just for your living, not for your liking. All those things. When we follow those acharam, indriya nigraham comes automatically. So when we follow acharam, everything comes on its own, Mahaperiyava says. And this acharam has got two palams. This acharam has got two palams, two benefits. One is called as Drishta Palam, that is visual benefits, that is, a tangible benefit. And another is called as Adrishta Palam, an intangible benefit. What is the Drishta Palam for Saucham? Dharma Shastra says you have to wake up early in the morning and then take bath in cold water, says Dharma Shastra. And if we follow that, the Drishta Phalam is going to be cleanliness of our body. If we take bath daily in the morning, our body becomes clean, right? That is a Drishta Phalam. But when we follow Acharam,
When we take bath according to what has Shastra said, we also will get something called as Adrishta Phalam. Adrishta Phalam means intangible benefits. Intangible benefits means punyam, papam, etc. So all those things are intangible benefits, and we have to be very, very careful that we follow Acharam not only for Drishta Phalam, but we also have to follow Acharam for Adrishta Phalam as well. Just cleaning our body, it is like 10% of the benefits of doing snanam. We do snanam. Normally, why do we do snanam in these days? We do snanam mainly for cleaning our body, right? But that is not the acharam. When we take bath according to the Shastras, we have to do sankalpam, we have to do marjanam, we have to do sukta patanam, we have to do tarpanam. All those things will come under acharam, and when we do our snanam according to those rules and regulations, more than Drishta Phalam, we will also get Adrishta Phalam, says Mahaperiva. So please do not always look for Drishta Phalam in the Acharams. When our ancestors ask us to do something, please don't look for only tangible benefits in those things. That is the main crux of the argument here. Please do not look for drishta palam. Please do not look for tangible benefits always. Some things, even for us, it will look like, it does not make any sense. I don't know why I am still following that. It does not make any sense. I'm pretty sure all of us would have felt that way when our parents asked us to do sandhya vandana, when our parents asked us to do this, okay, why do I have to do path, why do I have to follow yachal, why do I have to follow muddy, all the clothes are completely clean, I'm even adding viricide, I'm even adding bactericidal compounds in that, so it is more cleaner than doing following the rules of muddy. We all have felt that way, yes, but Mahapariva says all these things are only tangible benefits, only drishta phalam, but there is much more to that acharam called as adrishta phalam. We won't know because it is intangible, but it is given in shastras, and we have to believe in shastras. Why? Our forefathers have followed our shastra. That has, we ourselves are a drishta palam, we ourselves are the beneficiaries of shastras. We are in this good way, we are leading a healthy life, we are leading a comfortable life because of their acharas, because of what they have followed. So what they have followed should make sense. So we just don't have to ask a lot of questions, and if shastra says do this, we have to do that just because shastra says so, not because it comes with a load of drishtapalam or tangible benefits. With this, we will end today's session. Next session is going to be very, very interesting. We these days we tend to associate every achara to a scientific thing. Okay, why do I take bath? Because science says so. That day I read an article somewhere. Why do we have kalasam? That is a question. And people say, oh, kalasam has got copper ions, silver ions, they dissociate into water. When you drink that water, that ions go into your body. They try a lot to explain those things scientifically, but Mahapariva says, please don't do that. If you want to follow Acharam for the sake of following Acharam. Please do not follow Acharam because science validates that Acharam. No, this is a very profound topic we are going to see next week. We have to follow Acharam for the sake of Dharma Shastra, for the sake of Acharam. We should not follow Acharam because it scientifically makes sense. Acharya is going to say in Dheivathin Kural. It is going to be a very, very interesting topic. If you guys can, please read those topics from Deivathin Kural. I will post the topics in the WhatsApp group as well. It is going to be a very, very interesting line of argument that Acharya is going to make. Why we don't need re-endorsement, why we don't need any endorsement from science for our Achara. It should be the other way. Acharya is going to say next week. That is what we are going to see. With this, we will finish today's session. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If you have any questions, you can ask.